Welcome to It's a Woman's World, a show which discusses any and all topics under the sun from a woman's point of view. Hosted today by Dr. Susan Strauss.
Hi, and welcome to It's a Woman's World. And as all of our programs are, this one's going to be just great because we are going to be looking at animal welfare. So it might have particular interest to those of you that are animal lovers. I'm Dr. Susan Strauss, and I will be hosting today's segment. But along with me, I have got some wonderful co-hosts, Nadia Jordana. Hello, Nadia.
Happy to be here today.
Glad you are. And Uma Jenga.
Hi, Susan. It's great to be here as always.
That's good to hear. And we have Gail Roddy. Gail.
Hi, Susan.
Good to have you here. And our special guest is Dr. Ann Valenti. Welcome, Ann. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
We are just so happy to talk to you. Ann is a veterinarian and in practice with several other vets. Tell us a little bit about
11 other veterinarians and 3 specialists. So we have quite a big practice right here in Inver Grove Heights.
Great, great. And tell us a little bit about what your practice is all about.
Well, it started out as a small mom and pop practice, and because we had such a bond with our clientele and animals, word of mouth made us grow into what we are today. When I first started there in 1994, there were 5 veterinarians.
Wow.
And Jim and Ann Windsor own with me, and then we have, like I said, a bunch of other veterinarians associates, and we all really enjoy small animal medicine. We on occasion get to see animals from the zoo or Dodge Nature Center because we do orthopedics, we do reproduction work as well, but we're also a general specialty practice for just wellness for animals.
Okay.
And we do behavior as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Is it
nice.
primarily small animals or large animals too?
Small animal is our forte, and like I said, on occasion we'll see, like we had a pony that broke its leg at the zoo, so we saw that one, did some orthopedics on it. We actually were able to do some work on a black panther, so sedated.
Yeah.
Right.
So what made you to get into this profession? Some people have passion, or some people have some life experiences that made them, go to the career.
Guilty
so
with
what
the
made
passion.
you choose this?
Yeah, I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was 7.
Okay.
We had horses growing up. We had a farm. I was the kid in the house that brought home all the broken baby birds and stray cats, much to my parents' dismay. But it panned out because here I am doing what I absolutely love. I mentor students all the time too, so the passion I hope develops in them as well. But it is from when I was very young.
Wow.
Well, there are many different ways when we think about animal welfare that we can all portray that. Certainly you do as a vet. I guess I do as a pet owner. I know that Uma is a vegetarian. Nadia dabbled with it a while ago.
I did.
And Gail is a vegan. So tell us how that fits with animal welfare with being a vegan, Gail.
Well, for me, it was actually a health issue that got me started. But long ago, I remember being a child, and I grew up here in the Twin Cities. But we went to Arkansas. My parents were from Arkansas, so my grandparents were still there. We'd go down in the summers to the farm to visit. And I remember being 9 years old and my mother saying she was going out into the yard to get a chicken for dinner. Well, I'm a city girl. I didn't know what that meant. So my brother and I run out there with Mom, and of course she killed the chicken.
Yeah.
And we were just appalled. We couldn't understand. You killed the chicken. And she said, well, how do you think those chickens in the store get there? But it got me thinking that I was just disconnected. Now, I was a child. I had an excuse. But I was disconnected from where my food came from.
Yes.
And so I do admire people who hunt and eat their food, because to me, that's that connection where you're not taking anything for granted. So a lot of the animal welfare I believe in has to do with not taking our food for granted. Not necessarily being vegan, but not taking what we eat for granted.
Yes. Dr. Ann, talk about having several specialties, and you mentioned reproductive medicine, orthopedics. Could you identify a couple of the other specialties that you do, and perhaps give us an example of what you do for reproductive medicine with animals? That's,
That could be a whole program in and of itself.
I bet.
As a matter of fact, I was just at the Bulldog Show last night. Many of my clientele were there. So what we try to do is look at the health of the animal and try to, as veterinarians and as the breeders that I work with, really promote good breeding and health. And so that deals with ethical issues with the animals. We also, try to instill in them behaviors. So, for instance, if a dog is aggressive, maybe not to breed that dog, but really to try to get that human-animal bond stronger by promoting good, healthy breeding and behavior. We do a lot of behavior, as I had mentioned. We do many wellness exams. We're one of the veterinary clinics in the Twin Cities that vaccinates only minimally, and so we really try to look at what our clientele wants and what is best for the animals.
With the vaccinations, I know for my dog, I have a titer done, for example, on her, because I don't want her to have unnecessary vaccinations.
Sure.
So do you draw titers, or do you just, how do you determine whether they do need the vaccination?
It depends on their lifestyle, but we do titer, yes.
Okay.
We do whatever, basically we discuss with each individual pet owner, lifestyle of the dog, what they need, where do they travel. Dogs that are in areas where there's a lot of ticks, we do different vaccines than dogs that are sitting on your couch.
Yes,
So.
right. Tell us a little bit more, as we were talking before the show started, that you actually have a sperm bank for, for your animals.
I was asking if it was okay to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, we think about that with human reproductive medicine, but for animals, can you tell us a little more about that?
And who would need it?
Actually, so we see, as well as our just general clientele, we do a lot of breeding services. And so basically, again, in order to promote breed health, we have sperm that comes in from all over the world. Asia and Germany, and I mean, just basically everywhere you can think of. It gets shipped in and it's frozen, so we basically have to keep it that way, and so we do store it for our clientele. And the really cool thing about it is we've had dogs that have been dead for 30 years, and we've bred that sperm, and we've gotten puppies.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
So
And if it's a beloved pet,
Yes.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
Oh my
And the
God.
gene pool would have changed over 30 years.
Absolutely.
Sure,
Yep.
that
And
makes sense.
sometimes the
Interesting.
gene pool was better back then. So if a breeder's looking to do an old school breeding, they've saved the sperm, they can do that.
So when you get the sperm from all over the world, do you get sperm from like wild animals, and then you do
dogs.
that? It's all
Yep,
dogs.
it's all, so we would breed purebreds to purebreds, basically.
Okay.
Although we have done some crosses, people are looking for maybe an agility dog or a flyball dog or something that has a little bit more, like they're looking for certain traits, and so we do that as well.
So it's just for dogs then?
It is. It's very difficult. Cats are pretty good at doing things on their own, and I don't think they would lend themselves well to
okay.
that. So yeah, the dogs are pretty easy, and we do ultrasound for pregnancies. We do C-sections, many of them actually. Bring new patients into the world. It's fun.
Oh my gosh.
I think I had read where there had been a vet that had a little tiny hamster, and the vet went in and did a artificial insemination on that little tiny hamster.
Wow.
I mean, you'd almost need a microscope, wouldn't you, to do that?
I haven't worked with hamsters.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that sounds very hard. The smallest we've done is Chihuahua.
That's
pretty small.
That's pretty little, yes.
That would be.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And talking about animal welfare too, I hear those two words like animal welfare and animal rights. So what is the difference?
Good question.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I typically don't get that. Like, what is animal welfare? I hear that one time, animal rights, I hear that. Is there any big difference between that two, or?
I guess that is a very political subject. As a veterinarian, I guess my whole thing is animal welfare deals with the well-being of the animal and you know, their care and husbandry. So for instance, what conditions they live in, how they're housed, how many are there, what kind of food they're eating, and you know, how are they vaccinated, are they not, are they vaccinated appropriately, are they dewormed appropriately. Whereas animal rights, that's a big issue where, you know, what rights do animals have? And, you know, many people think that, well, we're animals, and so, you know, they should have the same rights as we do. They can't go get a job and fight for their rights, so we have to be advocates for them. So we just need to make sure they get proper exercise, nutrition. But the rights is a very difficult subject, I would say.
So they are two different subjects.
I think of animal rights getting into people who are abusive to animals.
That's also animal welfare, though. Animal rights would, I think, more pertain to, you know, can they ride on the bus, and can they be in certain areas, and you know, should we be using having them as pets even? So that gets into PETA, where they feel maybe even having a pet is taking away that animal's right, because the animal does not have the say that it wants to be a pet. Now, I will tell you, in many of my clients' homes, I want to come back as their pet. So I think that those animals are doing great. So
That's why, coming to this contest, you must have pet owners who don't take care of their pets too good too. So how do you deal with those patients then?
Good question.
actually, I have the luxury of owning a veterinary clinic, and so the care that we see that our animals get in our facility is phenomenal. People don't bring their animals to veterinarians if they're going to be abusive to them or not take care of them.
Probably
So
not.
we actually see kind of the other way, where they'll do anything for them, and sometimes I have to guide them that, ooh, maybe it's time, or you know, we have to deal with animal suffering. But the good news about that is that we actually can do a lot of things like they do in the human world for medicine and surgery that take care of our animals' pain and suffering medically, you know, through antibiotics, through anti-inflammatory medications, we were just talking about chemotherapy that we can do with animals, and many of those animals have great quality of lives because of that, where you wouldn't think necessarily they would, but they do.
So you were discussing then that there is a hospice element, that you do speak with the owners about their pets. And
Right, and actually one of the newer trends in veterinary medicine is potentially facilities that will help you with your care for your pet. We don't do that yet, but we definitely guide our clientele on how to do home care for their pets. And nutrition's a big part of that as well. There are many different diets that are very helpful, including vegan ones.
so you have a vegan diet for your animals then?
You can.
Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead.
What is your contest of, like, you know, having a vegan diet for the animals too? So do you like that, or?
And what got you started?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that really is interesting, because I still feed my cats. Definitely have a meat diet, because I'm told that they really will sicken and die. It has something to do with the kidneys.
I said that we have a vegan diet, but cats and dogs are carnivores.
Yes.
The way they get their grains is through hunting, so I hate to be graphic, but they eat a mouse, the mouse has grain in it, that's the grain they get.
Right.
So in general, if we were to feed a vegan diet only or solely, we don't know how nutritious it is, but actually diets have come a long way. And as you know, even in the vegan community for humans, it's come a long way. And so there are many different protein sources that are very helpful for dogs. And we use the vegan diet sometimes for food allergies.
Yes,
So,
I had a cat a few years ago who would get very, very thin all of a sudden, and she was older, so I thought, you know, she was just getting old. But then all of a sudden the next month she would be heavier. And she would go back and forth and back and forth. Well, it dawned on me one day, because, you know, I'm one of these detective people. Before I go and ask someone, I want to figure out this myself. This is a puzzle. And so it dawned on me, I would alternate her food. 1 month would be a bag with salmon in it. The next month would be chicken. something about the salmon, she was apparently allergic to it.
Oh, my.
And it would go right through her.
Interesting
And
observation.
so at the end of the month, she'd be skinny. Then I'd buy the chicken bag, thinking, see, my thought was that I'll just give my cats a varied diet. I wouldn't want to eat the same thing all month long.
And they love fish.
Yes, of course. But if I had taken her to the vet, they might not have known it because they don't feed her every day. But I could see something was going on. Stopped eating the salmon, and she never had that problem again.
Good detective
So
work.
chicken and turkey. And then I had a trio of cats that this was back when the rice diet first started. And I felt something was wrong with that for animals. Sure enough, they would wheeze after they ate. And it dawned on me, it's got to be the grains. Took the grains away, wheezing stopped.
And that was an allergy, wasn't it?
It was an allergy. Now, all cats may not have that, but my trio did.
So healthy diet's important.
I have a question for you. If you were 9 when you saw your mom kill the chicken, and that was, as I understand it, sort of the catalyst that got you going into being a vegan, did you start like right away? And as a child, as a 9-year-old, I mean, tell us that process. What did you do? You were a child, and how did your mom respond?
My brother and I, my brother is also vegan now, but we wouldn't eat the chicken. We simply would not eat that chicken, and my mother was just, please.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't eat it. So then once we came back to Minnesota, you know, we're children, and, and the fried chicken is on the dinner table again, so pretty soon you're back to eating it. But then when I was in my 20s, and I went with a boyfriend to San Francisco, and you know how you go to the wharf and you get fresh lobster?
Yes.
Well, they threw the lobsters into the boiling pot. And I heard them scream.
Oh,
no.
And it was like, that was the turning point for me. It never occurred to me that you throw a living creature into a pot of boiling water and it's going to affect it.
Yes.
But you can still be a vegetarian, not a vegan. But what made you to become a vegan? You know what I mean? Vegan is an extreme step.
Absolutely.
Next to
well,
the
that was
vegetarian.
pretty much health aspect.
There's a lot more work to being vegan.
Yes.
And maybe you could define what is the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian?
Well, there's all kinds of vegetarians. There's the pesca vegetarian, people who eat fish. There's the lacto-ovo, who eat eggs and dairy products. And a lot of vegetarians are the lacto. They don't eat eggs, and I don't eat eggs either since I became vegetarian, but I would eat dairy, a little cheese, a little cream in my coffee. But then the last 12, 14 years, I completely stopped that for health reasons. I realized it was giving me severe congestion. I was constantly having colds and bronchitis. And once I stopped the dairy, so mine was a health aspect in going vegan.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm very surprised. Actually, yogurt, they say, you know, in India, if you have cold or anything, they ask me to eat more yogurt. It has that antibacterial thing that kills the virus, so you.
But that's a
It's
fermented. It's cultured. That's different. Yes, that's
okay.
different. But ever since I've been vegan, I have no more trouble with any kind of congestion. My tonsils used to be swollen all the time. None of that
And
anymore.
you're nice and slender. I mean, I would guess that plays a role too.
It does.
Yeah.
That's a nice side
I've
effect.
heard about your famous kale chips. I've even tasted them.
Yes,
Kale
yes.
chips.
Yes.
You make them?
I make kale chips in my dehydrator, and I use a vegan cheese that's made with sunflower seeds and lemon and garlic and miso. Have you ever heard of miso?
No, but that sounds like something that you could do for a cooking segment here for us.
Where are those?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Question before we are running down on time. Can you give us just an example or two of what kind of behavior you see in animals that you assist with, the owner?
Well, I'll tell you one that's very key right now in July here in Minnesota is that thunderstorm phobias. It's a huge one.
Especially after last night.
Yes, well, we've had just a very bad run on weather, plus July always brings fireworks. And so one of the biggest things this summer has been working with thunderstorm phobias in dogs. It's usually dogs. I guess cats just hide and the owners don't know. But there's thunder shirts you can use, so that's kind of a more natural thing where you put it on the dog. And there's also pheromone collars, which is more natural. And then, of course, we go with the big guns of medication if we need to. And it works really well.
Does,
so
huh?
anybody out there with their dogs having issues.
I'm going to have to tell my sister because she does.
Bigger dogs or smaller dogs?
Yes,
They're all. Oh.
Yes.
Well, this has been fascinating. I mean, we've learned a little bit more about veganism and how you became, or what was the catalyst for you. You as a vegetarian. We've got Dr. Ann Valenti for the Veterinarian. We're glad that you both were here. Thank you so much.
You.
And thank you for joining It's a Woman's World. Please stay tuned for a cooking segment by our very own Uma Django. Thank you.